Welcome to Sophomore Parent Night. A few of you look familiar, so that's great. Some of you have gone through this process before and probably have attended this night before, but for the new ones, raise your hand if this is all new. Okay, great. I'm Julie Mazzola, and I have the caseload with the last names ending N through Z. So we have the kids all 4 years, if you remember that from meeting us last year.
And hi everyone, I'm Rachel Sturma, and I have students with last names A through G.
And our other partner in crime, Emily Barnum, is not able to attend tonight as she has a couple of sick babies at home. She has the caseload of H through M. So we all work together in the guidance office, and we have a wonderful assistant, Lisa Brown, who is right at the front of our office, and she helps students as well. We have a school adjustment counselor, Sarah Kelly, who's in our office, and we all work together very closely as a great team. But tonight we're here to talk about sophomores and what we kind of are doing with them. And we have an agenda put up there. So we're working with the sophomores in their English classrooms after we come back from break, and we call them seminars. And so we're going to talk to them in their English classes in small groups. So we're going to talk to you guys about kind of the summary of what we'll be speaking to them about. Kind of give you an overview of what that will look like. We'll also be talking to you guys tonight about course selection and what to look out for and kind of how to navigate that process, which is coming up. We'll also talk about extracurricular activities and the importance of getting involved. And then lastly, the timeline of what you guys should be looking out for the next, the rest of this year, and kind of looking forward into next year a little bit. So we have a nice little evening planned. We hope to not keep you here too long. We know these nights can be a lot, and we host quite a few of them. So and we know you have other children as well. So we hope not to keep you here too long. So we're going to get started right now. If you guys have questions, raise your hand as we move along, or you can keep your questions till the end, and we'll ask. We can hold off for questions at the end as well. So whatever you guys want to do, it's very interactive, question and answers all along, okay? So during sophomore seminars, we did the same thing as what we're going to do this year as last year, and it worked out really well. Basically, we go over some soft skills, what are needed with the kids, because we have seen throughout the last few years that some of the students, whether it's just a new aged thing, a new teenage thing, we don't know, but they're missing some solid soft skills. And we want them to grow and be productive global citizens in this world. And we want them to be kind and caring and have good manners and be polite, as I'm sure you guys do too. But we're just seeing some of the common sense, courteous skills missing nowadays. So, your basic communication, just a lot of just basic things missing from teenagers. So in the seminars, we go over some of these skills, and we do a lot of role playing, and it's very interactive, and it's very fun for them. And we love this because we get a good sense of the sophomores in this way, and we ask for a lot of volunteers, and the kids they really do enjoy this. And at the end, we even follow up with them. We have them send us an email to make sure that they understand what we're talking about, that an email isn't to be sent as a text message with the shorthand typing and all of that stuff, that an email is actually supposed to be sent proper and formal. So there's a lot of things that we cover. We start with personal responsibility. We would like the students to become small adults throughout their 4 years of high school here. We want them to take ownership in their schooling. You've been to school, we've been to school. This is their time to go to school and take ownership in their academics and their social time in school and friendships, and they need to be held accountable. They need to be self-advocating, and these are all skills that we're helping them to develop. So for example, if they are out sick and they need to figure out what they missed for work, how do they do that? Do they have mom and dad call the school and say, can you collect work for my daughter? She was out sick today, I'm gonna come pick it up. Is that what you guys would do? Some people do, but what we're looking for the students to do is to, can anyone take a guess? Great, yes. Send an email to their teachers. Or if that doesn't work and they didn't hear back from the teacher, they can email a classmate. Or if their teacher uses Google Classroom, go on Google Classroom. There are many different ways to figure out what they missed if they're out sick. If they are out sick and they had a project that was due, no questions asked, deadline is a deadline, you have to figure out a way to get that project in. Have mom or dad drive it in, give it to a classmate to bring in. If you just can't make it to school, but you have to turn that project in. You have to figure out ways to get this stuff done. So we talk a lot about that kind of personal responsibility. The reason why plagiarism is listed underneath personal responsibility is because it's becoming an epidemic at Swampscott High School. The kids are finding every way possible to either plagiarize or just all out cheat, unfortunately. And the teachers are thankfully finding out, that this is happening and they're catching on. But we wanted to bring it up to you guys so that you could be aware of it and the ramifications of it, and that we have these talks with the students as well. There's a policy on it. It is in the handbook, so you can always go and look at the handbook regarding the policy. But they will have, their classroom will, these are certain things to look at. There'll be classroom chats for texts, group chats in text messages that they'll share homework. They take pictures, and the pictures of homework is just, infiltrated throughout the group, and you might not know who actually started that picture, so it's hard just to find out who actually started the picture with the homework, but somehow that picture gets back to the teacher. A big one is the writing. That's the biggest one with papers. The teachers in English and history use Turnitin so they can see any type of plagiarism through the internet, through past papers, through papers with, kids that could be sharing. And obviously the biggest one is Google. So if you're sharing documents within Google with another person, we can find out if you're sharing papers within Google with one another. So we have conversations about keeping your work to yourself. If you share your work with somebody else, whether it's a math homework sheet or it's a paper, the person receiving the paper or the homework sheet is held accountable for cheating. The person that shared it is also held accountable for cheating. The two people are always going to be held accountable in this situation. So we want to make that very clear, and that is in our handbook, in the policy. So make sure you're having these conversations. Don't let your son or daughter share anything. It's their own work. It's their personal property. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Anything else under personal responsibility you want to talk about? Okay. So the next piece is communication. and this is, I kind of touched based upon it with the email. We want them to be able to communicate both verbally and in writing, effectively, appropriately. We have received some kind of shocking emails from students, whether it's, you know, hey, I need to see you ASAP. That's just so inappropriate. It's alarming. Then we received some amazing emails from freshmen this year. We had them send us emails after we met them in freshman seminar, and I mean, what a delight, some of them, what they wrote to us. And it was very formal. Hi, Miss Mazzola. This is so-and-so. It was so great to meet you. I look forward to the next 4 years with you. Sign, you know, best, blah, blah, blah. Just very appropriate, and, you know, it just stands out as having great communication skills and writing skills. But furthermore, it's also, you know, how do you interact with somebody when you're beginning a conversation? So if I'm on the phone with Ms. Sturma in my office and you need to speak with me, do you come walking right in and you taking a seat and listening to my conversation? That happens all the time. It's, you know, it's those common sense, like you think that students should know to, she's on, okay, let me take a seat in the little waiting area in the guidance. And they just don't get it. They just come right in, they sit down. So we role play situations like that. The same thing with like teachers in their classrooms, and they're having conversations with other students, and a student walks right in on the private conversation. So we role play situations like that about how to effectively communicate. Kind of goes into relationship development. It's so important that students, it starts freshman year, it certainly keeps developing sophomore and junior year into senior year. Having those strong relationships with not only their peers, which is so important, but with teachers. They want to have a strong reputation, a great character, and building those strong relationships with teachers. And the reason is, well, first, we want them to just be good people and, you know, be setting great examples throughout the community. But what they're doing also is setting the tone for junior year when they have to ask teachers to write letters of recommendation on their behalf. Also, as guidance counselors, we write letters of recommendation on our caseload on their behalf as well. So that's also important, is to start building those relationships and really like putting yourself out there and, you know, participating in classes and helping out other students and going after school for extra help. So those are all important things to be doing with developing relationships with teachers and, like I said, your peers as well. The last thing, which has become very important, and you know, everyone has been talking about this huge topic in the last few years. It's become on the forefront, is anxiety. And we brought this up as a topic because we want people and the students to know, you know, there is a big difference between anxiety and being nervous. And so we wanted to talk to students about managing nervousness and discomfort, and realizing that just because you have those feelings does not mean you have anxiety. Anxiety is an actual illness, and having nerves and discomfort is not. And actually, having nerves is a good thing sometimes. It's your body's way of telling you that something is important. It's your body's way of telling you the fight or flight reaction. And when we try to mask it with the diagnoses, whether it's by a doctor or by ourselves, by saying, I have anxiety, you may be doing a disservice to yourself. So it's really important to realize whether you truly have anxiety, which is an actual diagnosis from a doctor, and whether you just have some nerves. And there's plenty of information out there to kind of walk your way through figuring that out. But with nerves, there's usually an end. The nerves are because something is coming up, and it might be that, big presentation in front of your boss that you have to do, and you have that pit in your stomach, butterflies, and right after the presentation, the feeling goes away. So it's a short-lived period of uneasiness, butterflies in your stomach, and then it goes away. Anxiety is long-lasting. Panic attacks can happen where you're jittery, your heart is racing, your chest is heavy, you're nauseous and potentially throwing up, you can't breathe, and sometimes, a lot of times, you end up in the emergency room. So there's a really vast difference between the two, and we try to talk to the kids about really understanding the two and not desensitizing the anxiety piece, and not just saying, because every TV show now is just throwing the word out there, and every magazine has it, and social media, and celebrities, and everybody's using the word anxiety. And it's just, we don't want to take away from the people that actually are dealing with it, because it's a true lifetime illness. So we want to work with the kids that do have nerves, that do get nervous, and give them some strategies to work with, and the people that have anxiety, give them the resources that they need to work with. Lastly, what we do with them after going over the role-playing skills, we go into Naviance, which is our internet-based tool that we use, and we use it all 4 years. In sophomore year, we use it to go over their strengths, to figuring out their strengths, what they're great at. It's basically a test that they take. There's no right or wrong answers, but it's just figuring out what are they really great at. And then it goes right into a career interest inventory, where they can start to figure out, based on what this test I just took, it says I might be great at being an accountant, because it said, I answered all these questions that it tricks you up on. It's kind of a repetitive way of answering questions over and over again, and the results, spit out a whole bunch of careers. So it might have said over and over, it might have asked him about math, and he kept answering yes, yes, yes to numbers, and it spits out that they might be a good accountant, or something to do with statistics or finance or something like that. So it's a great starting point to thinking about college majors. And then it goes into looking up potential careers and what the forecasting job outlook looks like for jobs, and there's a whole bunch of data in Naviance for them to look at. And then next year we start thinking about potential majors and colleges, but this is what we work with for sophomores in Naviance this year. Any questions before I turn it over? All righty. Oh. So the question is, when do they take the Naviance Strengths Explorer and Career Interest Inventory tests? When we are in the seminars, which is when we come back from February vacation. Yep. Yes, so parents do get their own codes, so we can email those codes out to you so you can take a look as well. No problem. All right.
Okay, I'll be covering the second agenda item, which is course selection. So this is an important time of the school year. We've made it through first semester, and we're more than halfway done with the year. And in the guidance office, that means we kick into high gear for course selection, helping all the students that are currently in our building, grades 9 through 11, choose what they want to take next year. So your students have been through this once in 8th grade and once in 9th grade, so hopefully they know the deal, but we're doing it again. And this year we're picking classes for junior year for your students, which is a really important year. So we can answer any questions you have, and we welcome you to join us on the evening of March 13th. That will be an evening about the program of studies. Once it's rolled out, all the department chairs will be there. Our counterpart, Emily Barnum, will be here answering any questions you have about the curriculum, the offerings, AP courses, things like that. But we could do some of that tonight too. So I have my little cheat sheet here. So this really all kicks off the beginning of March. In the beginning of March, the current teachers that your sons and daughters have will be approaching your sons and daughters and talking about what they recommend that your children take next year. So that this is based on, you know, what they see in class every day, the performance that they've had for their assessments and their grades for quarters 1, 2, and the mid-year. So they're going to recommend, and this is, remember, this is in each of their own little bubbles. The math teacher doesn't necessarily talk to the history teacher. The math teacher's just worried about, how is this student doing in my class? This is the class next year I think they belong in. So then, as the counselor and the family, we all work together as a team to make sure that the student's course load is balanced, it makes sense, it's targeting what they're passionate about, and we're helping them pave the way for any future plans that they've already maybe thought about. So in the first 2 weeks of March, the teachers will enter the course recommendations into Aspen, and we will have assemblies with the kids letting them know the whole process, and then we invite you on March 13th to join us to hear about it. And then on March 18th, that's when the portal opens for your sons and daughters to add all of the electives that they want to take. They have a couple weeks to do that, and then basically for the beginning March 28th and for the month of April, the counselors, the 3 counselors, we have one-on-one meetings with every student in the building. So usually they come down from English class, or we bring them down so we don't miss anybody. We track it all, and we have, you know, one-on-one conversations where we as the counselor sit with the student, look at the course recommendations, talk to them about what they want to do. Do they agree with the recommendations? Do they disagree? And then we make sure that they have enough credits and that they're on track for graduation. And there is an override process. I don't know if any of you have ever been through that, but that comes into play. It's called override or underride. So if you are in disagreement with the teacher about the levels that are appropriate for your child, there's paperwork that we can fill out where you say, I respectfully disagree. Override would mean if they recommended you for advanced college prep, but your son or daughter would like to try the honors level, there's a piece of paperwork that we go through, and we as the counselor talk to them about what this would mean. You know, does this make sense? And then underride would mean if you're recommended for a certain level, but you think, you know what, I'm maxed out, I really think this is too much, I would like to go to the level below. There's also paperwork for that. So we just work as a team to develop an appropriate balance. And so the override and underride process, we can walk you through that if that's applicable to your child. So in the big scheme of things, we just want your children, every student is different, honestly. Nobody, you know, they often compare to each other and they want to be just like their friends, but honestly, everybody's path is different. Our motto in the guidance office is embrace your path. Everybody, you know, should do what they want to do. And so that looks different for everybody. So the level of rigor, and we want every student to be challenged appropriately. For some students, that might mean all college prep classes. For some, that might mean honors and AP. And for many, many students, it's that middle level, that advanced college prep level. Any level you take at Swampscott High School, we are a college preparatory high school. Students of all levels go on to 2- and 4-year colleges. So we assure students that regardless of what class you're in, you are prepared for post-secondary education. And next year is a big year, junior year. So junior year has the final grades from junior year will be the final grades that students will be sending off to colleges. So it is a big year. And we always tell the students, you certainly don't want to have peaked 9th grade. Colleges like to see an upward trend of improvement. We all realize these are teenagers. They're having lots of developmental growth in these 4 years. So we want students to find success and not overbook and oversubscribe to a rigorous course load. We want those grades to stay high and to be challenged appropriately. So we do counsel them about that. In junior year, there are some major assignments in the English and the history classes. They have some major papers to write, so that's also something to consider. It's a rigorous course load that they're going to be taking on next year. Any questions about course selection? Yes. Sure. Sure, absolutely, yes. The question is, what is the weighting? So we have 3 levels here at the high school. Well, I guess you could say 4. So it starts with college prep. That's the lower level. Then we go up to advanced college prep. I would say most of our students, the majority of our students, take at least some classes in the advanced college prep level. Then you have the honors level above that, and the highest would be the advanced placement, the AP level. So in junior year, for example, you're not always going to have all 4 levels offered. For example, in junior year, English and history, there is no honors history or honors English. It's either AP English and history or advanced college prep. So if your student is in honors 10th grade English and doing well, that teacher will probably be recommending that student for AP English junior year. The weighting, so we only report weighted GPA, weighted grade point average to colleges. Weighted means you get extra points and credit for those honors and AP classes that you take. So college prep and advanced college prep classes are weighted the same. You do not get extra credit for taking the lower one or the middle one. If you take an honors or an AP class, you are getting an extra 10% bump in your GPA onto that. So for instance, if you scored an 85 in an English AP class, that goes into the GPA with an extra 8.5 points, so that would be what? 90, 93? Does that make sense? And yeah. And honors and AP are weighted the same. We do not, some high schools have an extra bump for AP. At this point, we do not, so honors and AP are weighted at that 10% bump. And so we only report the weighted GPA to colleges, which only benefits everybody, because if you're in advanced college prep and college prep, you have nothing to lose, and then you only have things to gain. If you've taken an honors or an AP class, you're getting that extra weighted bump. So we only report the weighted GPA when their transcript goes out. Great, yes. I believe that the teacher recommendations will be put into Aspen, so I believe as family members, everybody can see it. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, so it will be in the Aspen portal, and when you come to the program of studies night, the teachers are entering the course recommendations March 4th to March 15th. And then the students get the portal March 18th. So in that time frame, you will be able to see, and that's when, and then we see the students beginning March 28th. So we'll certainly see the recommendations by then, but you do definitely have access to see. Yes, we receive them too. As the counselor, we will be able to see everything. Yes. No, every high school does it a little differently. So we send out a school profile to the colleges to let them know how things work at Swampscott High School. So when your children, I know it's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but when they're ready to leave us and say goodbye and move on to their future plans, we send a school profile all about our curriculum, what we offer, the courses we offer, and how things work here. So colleges will understand when they're looking at our GPA, how did the high school come to this number? And we'll talk to you more about this when the students get a little older, but honestly, many colleges kind of throw away our GPA because colleges have their own way of calculating. So we tell the students, please don't get too fixated on your rank and your GPA at Swampscott High School, because colleges really care about what courses did you take and what did you get in those courses. And then oftentimes they will recalculate a GPA based on what they're looking for. Yes, with the GPA? Yes, the question is are all the honors weighted the same and are given the same credit? Yes, absolutely.
So the second to last bullet about thinking about the relevance of the courses, what that means is if your son or daughter does have in mind a particular major that they know they would like to go into, it would be really great if when they're picking their courses for junior, most definitely senior year, if they could plan some of their courses around that particular major. So for example, if they know they want to go into pre-med or nursing, and we offer AP Bio and AP Chem every other year, that's going to be important for them to know. So junior year they take AP Chem, and senior year they take AP Bio, because we only offer them every other year. So they would need to know something along those lines. So that's something for us as a team to definitely speak about, and that's on a very individual level, caseload by caseload. But I just wanted to throw that out there. That's what the relevance means. It's understanding your path and what you know you want to do, and then we base that on some of the courses that we offer at Swampscott High School. I'm back. Okay, so extracurricular activities. How many of your children are involved in something? The bell hits 2:30 and they're not coming home. They're doing something. Raise your hand. Great. That's what we love to see, and we have talked about this freshman year. We talked about it with our little freshmen already this year, and we are still going to talk about it because it's so important. We talk about the rigor of classes on their transcript. We talk about the quantitative pieces such as the GPA and rank. And then there's this other humongous piece, and it's the qualitative piece of extracurricular activities, and it's what sets you apart from the other kids when we're talking about the college application, which is technically next year. But anyways, we want them to get involved, and we want them to, at this point, still be exploring. Maybe they haven't found exactly what they love yet, so this is actually the time that they should still be exploring. And if they have found what they loved, stick with it. That's awesome. That would be great. We actually have up here a list of our clubs and activities, so after we're done, we'd love for you guys to come up here and grab a couple handouts. In 11th grade next year, you're going to hear a lot of this talk, which is to start specializing. If your son or daughter has found that club, that activity, we want them to, one, start showing leadership within those clubs and activities, whether it's a captain or president, vice president. They should start showing some sort of leadership come junior year. The specialization part of that is, we're done exploring, we're done adding clubs and activities, and we're really kind of narrowing down what it is we have found and we love, and we're really then kind of putting that, you know, if it's sports, then it's sports. And then we're adding maybe something else within the sports, and we're specializing sports as our thing. If it's acting, then it's acting. And we're kind of then specializing all of our stuff around acting. And I don't mean you have to quit everything else and we stop doing other things. But what we keep hearing from admission counselors is we don't want to see the jack of all trade, the master of none. Does that make sense to people? They're not looking for a well-rounded student because they are building communities, and if they're building communities with all well-rounded students, they're just going to have a kind of just a well-rounded blah community. So they really are looking for that kid that is specialized in this, in this, in this, in this, so that their community is now built with all specializations. Does that make sense? So we're not telling you guys you have to have this, they have to be the master of this, and that's only, and to quit everything. That's absolutely not what we're saying. But we need for them to really start thinking about come junior year, and certainly senior year, they should really start thinking about what it is that separates them from everybody else. As of right now, sophomore year, they should really keep exploring what they think they love and, you know, keep at it. And then next year is the year for the specialization. The list of activities for clubs, sports, all of that is listed on our website. We have a list up here, but it goes beyond that. There are so many things that they should be looking into, and it's volunteering, community service, employment, and start thinking about even for this year, definitely for next year, internships, co-ops, linking whatever they want to do for a potential college major, for maybe a summer camp, going away to school for classes, and kind of still doing that specialization within what they want to do. So we have juniors right now, are kind of done with our seniors, but our juniors right now are thinking, you know, I'm going to school for medicine, and they're signing up for classes at MIT and Tufts, and they're already planning. So these are the things to kind of think about down the road. Any questions about that? I know we're throwing a lot at you. Okay.
Okay, so we just wanted to kind of map out a timeline for you and what to focus on and what are some upcoming dates and upcoming activities for your families. So like we talked about, in March, we will kick off the course selection process. So March 13th, please join us if you can. Course selection will be the counselors meeting with the students and getting everything selected and chosen from mid-March through May. So our goal as counselors is to have your students go off into the sunset of summer break with a schedule. We want students to know what they're taking, and we want to have everything all set. We don't want to be contacting you. We stay a week longer than the students. We don't want to be calling the kids when they're at home asking, oh, you know, this conflicts with this. Which do you want to take? We want to get that all done. Our goal is to have that all done when they're still here so they can head off to summer break feeling confident about their course schedule. So standardized testing, that's kind of a big thing, and it's something that you don't need to worry about sophomore year, but we do want to just give you a frame of reference as to what this means and to get you ready. It's just, there's usually so many questions about standardized testing, so to give you a sense of where things will fall is really helpful. So the first bullet, SAT subject tests when appropriate. SAT subject tests are SATs that are 1 hour long, and they are testing students on a specific topic. So this is not usually necessary for most of our students. About a dozen colleges in the United States require subject tests, but when your students are in the highest level courses such as AP European History, honors chemistry, things like that that they might not see for the rest of their high school career, If your child is excelling and doing extremely well in there, you may consider having them sit for an SAT subject test at the end of sophomore year, because if they won't study that topic again, they might want to just sit for it, because who knows what their future plans might hold. And that is an individual conversation. Please reach out to your student's counselor, and we can counsel you about that to see if it's appropriate, but we do just want to let you know about that. AP tests are also something. So AP is, sophomore year, there's really only one AP your child could have taken, which is AP European History. Next year, there are a few more options. Like Julie was saying, next year, AP Chemistry will be offered. We have AP English, AP United States History. They would take honors physics before they would take AP. Yeah, depending on where your child is in the track. But again, those are some of the major ones that juniors take. And so we at Swampscott High School have a policy where the child is required to sit for the AP exam at the end of the year. Those are always in the month of May. When you sign up for the AP exam, you receive the stipulations of, or excuse me, when you sign up for an AP course, you receive a handout about what this course entails. They are taught like college level courses, and you are required, the district requires you to sit for the exam. And so you get those scores, and those scores are for the Swampscott High School to see, the teachers to reflect on how they did, you know, overall as a class, and for the student to see. Those are not required to send to colleges. If they're impressive, you can send and potentially get future college credit with those, which is the biggest bonus of taking an AP class. It might result in saving yourself a few $1,000s down the line when they don't have to take that entry-level math course or something like that. But that is not, so we don't want students to get nervous about taking the AP exams, because you have much to gain and nothing to lose. Okay, MCAS, that's something that your students already sat for in June of 9th grade. They took their biology, and now this year is a big year for MCAS testing for your 10th grade student. They will test for English in March, and math they will sit in May. And this year it is computer-based. So this is something I think your sons and daughters were familiar with. They piloted it when they were in middle school, and now it's back to stay. So we will be rolling out the computer-based MCAS. We're getting ready right now to, the teachers are getting trained on it tomorrow, and your students will sit for it in March. And then moving into the fall of junior year, we won't be talking to you guys again until the winter of junior year. That's when we have junior parent night. So while we have you, we want to lay out the fall of junior year. We would highly, highly recommend that your students sit for the PSAT in October of 2019, which is October of their junior year. The PSAT, P stands for practice. It's a practice SAT. We offer it here in the high school. It's usually, I think, the first Saturday of October. We keep it as comfortable as possible. It's a familiar school. The proctors are all of our faculty. So we want to keep it as low stakes and you know, comfortable as possible. But it's a great opportunity to get them in that mode of feeling, what is it like to walk into a standardized test? You know, because it's much more formal than probably what they're used to with any of their teachers or anything. And those scores are only sent to the family through an online portal, and we as the school, as the counselor, can see those scores. Those scores are never sent to colleges or anything like that. So again, it's a low stakes opportunity to start getting familiar with that exam. And so we would highly recommend. And some of your sons and daughters may have taken it this fall. We offer it to 10th and 11th. Even if they took it in 10th, we would again recommend it for 11th. And certainly if they did not sit for it this past fall, we definitely think it's a great idea. No problem. And then just, again, not to overwhelm you, but wanting to get your heads wrapped around what junior year testing looks like. After the PSAT happens in the fall of junior year, the spring of junior year is when you really get rolling on the real testing, the SAT or the ACT. And so we will, again, be in front of you having junior parent night before we roll that process out, so don't feel like you need to have digested all of this, but we just wanted to give you the lay of the land that that's when the real testing happens, so not until then. The correlation of high scores correlate to the age the child is, the maturity, and the length that they've had in school. So we don't want you to feel like you need to jump to take those tests in the fall of junior year or something, because we want to give them as much time in those English and math classes as possible. You want them to gain those skills and be as mature and ready with content knowledge and development as possible before they sit for the exams. Mm-hmm. No, we do not offer that at this time. Do you know what that exam's called? I don't even, are you positive there's a pre-ACT? Okay. Yes, we have not looked into offering that, but we certainly can. There used to be a test called the Plan, which they discontinued, but I hadn't heard that there was a new one. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great question. Well, the question is, are SAT and ACT equally accepted? And because yes, the ACT used to be more of like a Midwest thing, and SAT was more New England. But now, honestly, each is equally accepted. It does not matter. So we just had our junior seminars and our junior parent night, and we counsel our students to, the tests are very similar with slight differences. We encourage our students to do as many practice tests as possible, use the free resources out there, there are many, to figure out which test you like better, and then prep for one test. We don't recommend spending time, money, and resources on sitting on Saturdays for 2 tests. Pick the one you like better and focus and prep for that one. And then for if anybody feels like, you know, that you're too young to visit colleges, or, you know, now's not the time, that might be the case for your family. But we, you know, if you're going on a trip this summer or February or April break and you might not be back to North Carolina, you could swing through colleges and take, you know, now's the time, now through senior year. You can feel free to take college tours, and embrace the process as much as you're ready, but you certainly, we don't want to overwhelm you or tell you you have to do it, but it's a great opportunity. If you're on the road in your travels through the next couple of years, you might as well take a tour if you're going to be in somewhere that you might not make it back to. We also recommend taking official tours rather than just driving through campuses, because colleges, believe it or not, are tracking who is showing interest. So if you can get your name on the official roster having sat for an official tour, that can only benefit you. They don't know if you just do a drive-through of campus, they're never going to know that. I actually have a senior this year that we had to call Sacred Heart University because she received a letter saying your admissions decision is contingent on your visit to campus. And I'd never seen that before. So I called them and I said, what does this mean? You know, what happens if she goes all the way down to Sacred Heart and she's denied? And the admissions counselor said, oh, that letter is basically telling her she's accepted, but we need her to visit campus to show interest in order for her to get the acceptance. And I just had never heard that before. So it just pays to show your interest and get on a campus and let them know you've been there. So that was all of our formal slides. We try so hard. Emily, who's not here, is our really social media guru, but we're in training here, but we're constantly using Twitter, and we have a very active blog and website. So is everybody receiving our emails? Okay, we do send out a lot. You might not be, the 10th grade might not receive as much as the older kids, but we do try to tell you as much as possible about what's happening, what we need you to know. We try to be almost over-communicative, and also the blog is celebrating a lot of our students. So please check us out, follow us, and each of us is very accessible by phone and email, so if you ever need anything, we're always happy to talk to you on the phone or welcome you in for a meeting, and we are so excited to work with your children. Are there any other questions? Yes, we will. We're going to blast it out. Oh, yeah. You're on film, yes. So luckily, all this is videoed, so those of your friends who couldn't be here tonight will be blasting this out over email, and I'm sure we'll link the presentation.
glad you said that. So this is I feel like Big Brother. So she asked if there's going to be any night regarding information for athletes and recruiting. Yes. In fact, there is. We just had a meeting with our athletic director, Kelly Farley, the other day because this topic got brought to our attention, and we felt as guidance counselors, what can we be doing? We want to be doing more. What are the coaches doing? What's athletic director's office doing? So we just met, and we are doing a collaboration, and that is in the works for this spring. So be on the lookout for a spring event. It's coming to an auditorium near you. It will be about the recruiting process. Any other questions? Okay, great. Oh, one more. Yep. I'm sorry, the door keeps opening and closing. I can't. Oh, the career interest inventory? Sure. So the students take this, it's in test, but it's really just a yes or no questionnaire, so to speak. They take that in the seminar. We introduce it to them in the seminar. They start it, but they typically have to finish it on their own because it's probably 180 questions. And then the results will let them, it shows them potential careers. But they do, it is kind of like homework from the guidance staff. They do have to finish on their own because it is lengthy. Does that answer your question? Okay. Anything else? Great. So before you guys leave, we have some handouts down here if you want to grab them. There's 4 handouts. Just about some test prep. Not that you guys have to really think about that, but we wanted to give you information. Our information, the clubs and activities information, that's basically it. But I know when I go somewhere, I want to walk away with something. I feel like I won. So come on down, grab that stuff. Thank you so much for coming out. And if you have any other questions, you can always get into contact with your student's counselor. Thank you guys. Thanks, guys, back there.